What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Big Bike BMX. My name is Isaac. I've got my ride or die friend, 80s BMX Craig, hanging out tonight. What's up, Craig?
In the house, buddy. What's going on, dude? Just happy to be here, brother.
Dude, stoked you're here. You guys behind the scenes, Craig literally just ran in from work. So he is exhausted. He has been working all day. We all have. So just give us a little bit of patience while we gather our words. But we're so stoked. Tonight, Craig, I have a doozy for you. You're not going to believe this.
What do you got, brother?
Dude, BMX. So we've talked about like my history of BMX and like one thing I have learned, I don't want to say old school BMX because that runs the range of like 70, like early 70s. You can go all the way through, right? So when I say old school BMX, that's for me. I'm 50. I started going to the BMX track when I was like 12, 11. So like my heroes at the BMX track were like the Anderson brothers, Stu, Perry, Toby Henderson, right? The Henderson hauler. So when I talk about like old school BMX, Craig, you know, that's what I'm talking about. So Craig and I have had some good conversations. We talked about like little brands, like White Bear. You and I talked about that, how my friend had like a little sponsorship and he never even got his frame. But you know, so we love talking about that. And every time we talk about like that era of BMX and the brands, we always get, you know, I get lots of like inbox, dude, that was so rad. So you know, over the last couple of years, I've been talking to Supercross BMX, Bill from Supercross BMX, and we just like random DMs, like, hey, dude, that's a dope logo. Oh yeah, man, that's cool. We just like shooting shit about BMX, and so finally, I'm like, hey, dude, you want to come on the show and do this? And he's like, man, that would be fun. I'd love to. All right, so Craig, tonight we have from Supercross BMX, Bill Ryan. From Supercross BMX, old school, what I would say like old school legend, pioneer. And one of the things that really impressed me and why I was so stoked to do this, dude. All right, so Supercross is hardcore BMX right now. And one thing that I am not is hardcore BMX right now. Like, I don't know all of the names of all the racers. I go to the Chandler BMX track and I watch my locals and I scream for those kids until I don't have a voice. I'll go to there's another one, I think it's Black Mountain BMX. There's another track here in Phoenix. They have nationals there. I'll go over there, dude. That's a different experience. But like when you look at the history of Supercross like basically came out of that era, and you don't have a whole lot of companies that are rider owned from the start, dude, that are still in the mix, that are still producing, and that have been in the evolutionized BMX, sure. Revolutionized. How's that? Going from like the frames that like our dads welded in someone's garage that like the dropouts were wrong, you know, and you're like, why is my like it pulls to the right, Dad? Just pedal, son. You're not pedal harder on that side, right? So going from like that era of BMX over to carbon fiber and like the hardcore stuff that we're seeing today, that like our minds just go like, I couldn't even imagine. Like carbon fiber wasn't even like Kit didn't have carbon fiber on the Knight Rider car. So I'm like, dude, I didn't even think about that when I was a kid. So back then, dude, the big flex was titanium, bro. Like the BMX dads were like titanium nipples. And I was like 12 and all I heard was nipples. And I was like, I'm in, dude. What is that? It was expensive. Like you had like your dad had to live at home to have titanium on your bike, right? So like that's that era. So we are excited. Craig, let me introduce you to my friend Bill from Supercross BMX. And we're going to have a conversation about kind of the roots, the history. Because like Bill's been around, like we'll hear all the different places, but started doing leathers for people, kind of a side hustle. That Supercross was a side hustle that like accidentally made it and out of passion and just going for it. So Craig, meet my friend Bill from Supercross.
I am completely stoked. Bill, welcome to the show, man. And we're going to give you a chance to chime in here. And you know what, Isaac, anytime that I hear that we have someone on the show that has been involved in BMX, like you said, as a rider, a fan, an owner, somebody who's been doing it since day one, whether it's just out in the dirt and, you know, racing their friends at a local track, to someone who's actually created a brand and a company that lets us have fun doing what their passion is because it's our passion, I am completely honored and stoked. So you guys, ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Fans and listeners here at Big Bike BMX, welcome to the show. The Supercross man himself, Mr. Bill Ryan. Bill, welcome to the show, man. Thank you for joining us. How are you, sir?
Hey, thank you guys. I truly appreciate and am humbled by your guys' introduction. Craig, very nice to meet you. And Isaac, thank you for such a warm welcome. Couldn't be more stoked to be along with you guys for the ride tonight. This is going to be awesome. I'm ready to do this.
Yeah, we are too, man. I cannot say again, thank you enough. But Bill, let's really kick this off for those who don't know you or know the brand Supercross, which I'm sure there's not many out there that haven't seen that amazing logo on frames and on banners and at racetracks. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Every podium,
yeah.
seven-time bike of the year. I mean, just go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. Supercross BMX is my little baby, my little hobby that I started up, and Supercross itself as a company is 33 years old, and it's been a fun little ride, and we're going along, and I'm hoping to do it for another 33 years, maybe another 33 after that. I don't know. Maybe by then they'll have cryogenics and they can freeze parts of my body and my brain. I can keep doing and just keep having fun with it. I mean, we're all big BMX kids, right? That's what we're doing. That's why we're here. And I just love it. I mean, we're a BMX brand, and hopefully you have seen our brand out there. It's funny. I get calls every single day from somebody who's like, "Oh, Supercross, never heard of you guys," and it's like, "Oh, cool. Well, glad you called us. What can we do? How can we help you?" And it's funny. I get calls all the time. "Oh, well, I raced in, the early 80s, and Redline was big back then." Yep. Redline was huge back then, but we've been doing this since 1989 as Supercross, and 33 years. That's our radiversary, as we've been calling it this year. We didn't get to do a big 30-year celebration because unfortunately I was having heart surgeries that year and was out for a little bit. So our big 30-year plan of what I wanted to do didn't really happen the way it was. So we were like, "Oh, well, what's more rad than the 33-year anniversary? I mean, Crew Jones number, we gotta celebrate that. If we don't celebrate that, we're doing something wrong. We're not true BMXers if we don't do that." So
I love
celebrate the 33.
Yeah, dude. I absolutely love it. Hey, and you know what? Anyway, this is my reply to anyone's like, "Oh, Redline was big in when I raced back then and Redline was big, or this brand was big." I used to just ask them like, "And you ordered your toys out of a Sears catalog, right?" And so
exactly,
Sears was pretty dominant then too, and so was the Ford Pinto was having a stellar time back then. So y'all, here's the thing: how old were you when you started? The entrepreneur side of this, because like I've just put myself like at 20 on a bike. I was not thinking of like business or like how I can grow the sport. I was like, man, I hope I land this next boomerang better than Scotty Freeman. So dude, tell me about like how did it start? Because it was the entrepreneur side of this is so fascinating to me.
Well, I was actually telling Mike, who did our little pop in there earlier. I was 21 when Supercross officially started. I'm 54 now, so 33 years. I was 21. Prior to that, we had Tech running, which was a company that I had started when I was 16, and we had Tech running for a solid 5 years prior to that. Prior to that, even I had started up a frame company called Tech BMX, and was lucky enough to get one of my frames featured in BMX Plus magazine back in 1982, which was really cool. Our FedEx driver asked me the other day, he's like, "Bill, how do you keep the hustle going? How do you keep this alive? How do you keep it going?" And I always used to tell everybody, "Hey, it was $200 and a dream, $200 and a dream." That's how we started it. And I actually pinpointed it back a little bit further, much like you guys have said before. I mean, I've watched you, Isaac, where you always refer, hey, you had to have a dad at home to get something like that. Well, we were latchkey kids, right? I was a latchkey kid. Mom and dad were divorced, you know. Hey, at 8 years old, my little sister was 1. Mom and dad were divorced, and, you know, we had nothing. And I tell everybody this story. Well, I don't tell everybody the story. So this will be a little bit of a weird one for some people right now, I'm sure. But, you know, I was 8 years old, standing at the bus stop, and we lived in Torrance, which, you know, I got lucky that when my parents got divorced, I had been dropped into BMX Mecca, which I am truly fortunate for. I mean, who else is dropped into BMX Mecca when they're a little kid? But, you know, here I am, 8 years old, dropped in BMX Mecca. I loved BMX. So that was my whole little thing. But I'm standing at the bus stop. I wanted a piece of bubble gum. I wanted a piece of Bubblicious. We had no money, right? No money. And I couldn't get a piece of gum, right? I found a quarter on the ground. Well, all the kids in the area, they were Rancho PV kids. They all had money, and, you know, they all had gum, and I wanted a piece of gum. Found that quarter, made a beeline to the liquor store, bought a pack of Bubblicious, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, right? Popped in the first piece of Bubblicious. I'm like, oh, okay, this is rad, you know? Got my gum. Kid comes up to me, hey man, give me a piece of gum. F you, I'm not giving you a piece of gum. This is mine. He's like, I'll give you a quarter for a piece of gum. Sold. Who else wants a piece of gum, right? I sold the other 4 pieces in that pack for $1. Next day, I showed up at the bus stop, 4 packs of Bubblicious. I'm slinging out pieces of bubble gum, a quarter a piece, right? Pretty soon, I'm making money. And I'm like, okay, I'm going and buying bike parts. I'm paying for my entry fees to go over to Ascot, Alpine Village, Harbor BMX. I'm whatever I can. I'm making money, slinging bubble gum till the principal caught me and I got in trouble because there was no gum allowed at school, and it ruined my side hustle. So as things progressed, as things went on, I was 15 years old and mom and dad were still divorced, and, you know, mom had just gotten remarried, and stepdad and I didn't get along so well, and I was racing, and I was never the best kid out there. I was never the fast kid. You know, if I made a main, I was stoked. You know, if I made a main, I was stoked. I was doing it because I loved it. I was doing it because I enjoyed BMX. I wanted to go out and ride. But I had heard that Karsten Berg left Aero, and that the company JMV Dresswear, who made all the pants for Max, Dyno, which Dyno didn't even exist at that time yet, but made the pants for Max, made the pants for Aero, made the pants for JT. They wanted someone to come in and be the new Aero guy. And, you know, Karsten left them hanging with a lot of debt, and they wanted someone to come in and do it. And I'm like, well, I can do that. I'm always at the races and I'm never in the main. So I've got a lot of time, you know, I'm here at the race and I've got time, and I can hustle some stuff. I can do this. This will be cool, right? So I got one of my buddies to give me a ride down there, and I got Andy Patterson to kind of vouch for me. You know, Andy Patterson had a co-sponsorship with Aero at the time when he was riding for JMC, and he vouched for me, and he was like, yeah, man, he's pretty cool and he could do it. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. And they didn't give me the job. And I'm like, fuck, excuse my language. I probably shouldn't cuss. I know that. I'm sorry. But I'm like, good. Damn it. Okay, cool. I'm like, damn it. I didn't get the job. What the hell? And I called the guy back, and I was a little pissed. I'm like, hey, why didn't I get the job? And at the time, I had already been working at SE Racing, sweeping floors and stickering frames and doing all that as a side hustle, you know, after school. But I wanted a job, you know, I wanted to make some money. And Joe, rest his soul, he just passed away last year. What a great man he was like, well, you're only 15. I can't give you a job. I can't do this. And I'm like, why not? And he's like, I just told you, you're 15. I can't give you a job doing this. And I'm like, all right. And it pissed me off for a little bit. And I was working at SE, and Perry and I were having a little conversation one day, at lunch break or whatever. And he's like, well, why don't you just do it? Why don't you just do your own thing? And I'm like, yeah, I can. Called Joe and said, hey, so if I come up with my own designs and my own thing, will you make them for me? It's like, yeah, I'll make anything for anybody. You got money, I'll make them for you. All right, cool. So I came up with the logo Tech, and decided that we were going to start making racing pants. And I was going to high school with Billy Griggs at the time. And, I said, Billy, dude, we got to do this. We got to, you need to start wearing my racing pants, and we're going to do this. All right, cool. And, Brian Lopes at the time was riding for SE, and, he's like, all right, we're going to do this, and we're going to make this whole thing happen. So I'm getting a bunch of my buddies together, and we're going to start this whole pant company making racing leathers. And
Just the new bubblegum hustle.
It was the new bubblegum hustle. And I'm like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to make this whole thing happen. And it just started to roll. We just started to get things going, and it started to take off. And pretty soon we were making all the Redline factory team pants. We made all the Haro factory team pants. We were making all the Cyclecraft factory team pants. And, with that, because Rich Bartlett with Block, and we were making all the World Class factory team pants. And I mean, we were making the hustle. The sad thing, though, the one that really pissed me off was Scott Bryhop, rest his soul, gave me so much shit when I gave Brian Lopes the first pair of Tech pants. And he's like, nope, Brian can't wear them. And I'm like, what? He goes, you didn't come to me first. And I'm like, whoa. And being a young, dumb kid, I didn't realize that I had to. I didn't think that I had to. And he's like, you didn't come ask me first. He can't wear them.
Wow. And weren't all the SE guys at that time wearing Aero pants?
Some of them were wearing Aero. Some of them were wearing 09. Some of them were wearing Dyno. Back then, it was pretty much whoever you could get a deal with that would make you pants in the SE colors, you were pretty much good with.
So what was your, like, with that being said with Scott, and that's a really, if you want to continue with that, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, you're fine.
What was the actual, like, when you established, let's say you were making pants for Redline, you're making pants for, different guys or teams, like, were you also building into that like a contract as well? Like, hey, I'm going to make these pants, or was that just like, hey, I'll make these pants, you guys wear them, and Dude, on you go? Or
that was exactly it. It was like, hey, you guys need pants, I'll make you pants, here you go. I'll make you pants, and let's go. Let's rock and roll with this whole thing. And, I was a 15, 16-year-old kid when I started the whole thing. I mean, I had a little 72 Toyota Corona that we painted camouflage in my driveway. And, I wanted a little mini truck, couldn't afford a mini truck, and on my 16th birthday, they said, hey, do you want the dead Toyota that's on the side of the house, or do you want $500? And I'll take the dead Toyota on the side of the house. We got that little Toyota running quick and painted camouflage. And that's how we got to all the races from that point.
You know how some guys say fake it till you make it. Well, obviously you weren't faking it, but you still had to make it.
Had to.
And what was when you say you were designing pants, are you going through like the actual fitting, the fitment of the pants, or just the paneling, or it was just the logos, or is it the whole thing?
It was just the paneling and the logos. JMV Dresswear was a very established company. Joe and his brother had a really good thing going. They made all the pants originally for JT. So they had all the JT patterns. They made all the Max pants. So they had all the Max patterns. They made all the pants for Aero. So they had all the Aero patterns. They were a legitimate cut and sew. Hey, whatever you need, we can make it. So all I did at that time, being a 15-year-old kid, was like, hey, I want the pant to look like this. Let's put this angle here. Let's put this stripe here. Let's do this. And with Billy Griggs, Billy was like, hey, I want my pant to taper. I want it to be that, geez, I can't remember the name of the look now, the pegged look or whatever. He goes, I want the pegged look. He goes, I want the pegged look. So we got to do some spandex or something. And some of the pants back then were putting the little darts of the little spandex in the back. And Billy's like, oh, hell no, that's not tight enough to keep out of my chain. So we did the full, half shin spandex to really just suck in the back of the leg. And that was all a Billy idea, to where Billy's like, I want it sucked in tight. And it's like, okay, cool. Let's do this. Let's make it rock and roll. And we just went for it. And it was fun times. And we actually had a Tech BMX race team. And we had Billy Harrison, we had Glenn Pavlovsky, we had Bogey Givens, we had Brian Lopes. I mean, we had some bangers on our team.
Yeah, that's some hitters, dude.
Yeah, we were having fun. We were going out and having some fun doing this whole little thing. And it was funny because the entire time I was at GT, I still had Tech going. And Rich Long didn't know that I had Tech going. Gary Turner did, because Gary would catch me in the morning sometimes using the Xerox machine at GT while we're having coffee to blow up companies' logos to send over to have the Naugahyde dies cut. And Gary would look at me and just shake his head. And he's like, if Rich catches you, he's going to fire you again. And it's like, he's already
fire you again.
Yeah.
Fire you again.
He's like, he's already fired me 12 fucking times. I cannot know how many more times he can fire me. And it was just like, okay, and I always tried to be respectful. And when I was working at GT, I made sure that we cut back on what we were doing with Tech, to where I said, okay, Dyno makes stock size leathers. So for Tech right now, we're not going to make any stock size leathers. Everything's going to be custom. And at that point, my wife, who we're still married now, we've been married for 31 years. We've been together for 36 years, was at home taking care of all the orders, taking care of all the shipping, taking care of everything. And it was cool to where, she would handle all that stuff, take care of all that side of the business. And it was, okay, cool. Dyno's doing stock size leathers. We're going to do all the custom stuff. So anything that's custom we'll do, but if it's stock, we're not going to do it. And yeah, there was a little bit of conflict of interest that, we're sending 200 pair of pants to Redline, and, Dyno has their own GT leathers and the Robinson leathers and all that stuff. But GT at the time, I was making $700 a month. My rent on our apartment was $715. So I wasn't even making enough money at GT to pay my rent, let alone the gas to get back and forth to work, or food, or my utilities. So guess what? I had to have that side hustle going. So it was the side hustle, and we kept it going.
I was going to ask you, you started the conversation out about the bubblegum and being at the bus stop and finding the quarter, right?
Yeah.
So if the pants were the bubblegum, what was the quarter? What was that was your hustle, but was there a point where you're like, okay, I got this? And you're working at GT, you've got Tech going in the background. Did you say to yourself, I got to do more? I mean, what was the flip side of that? What was the coin of the bubblegum at the liquor store and getting more to invest into something else? How long did the Tech thing last until you went, I'm going to do something else?
Well, the only reason that we actually ever stopped doing Tech is JMV decided that they didn't want to make the pants anymore. Once it became an issue where all the pants that were coming out, the Axos, the JTs that were coming out at the time, the Foxes, they were getting to become 1600 denier and all this different stuff. And I was trying to get JMV to up the quality on the material and up the quality on the different Naugahydes and the rubbers and the different little patches and the different things. Joe at that point was just like, Bill, I can't do this anymore. I've got to back up and I just can't do it. And at that point, we had already gotten Supercross started, and it was becoming a big juggle and a big hustle at that point, because I didn't start Supercross until a couple years after I had left GT. It was a really strange time leaving GT, and I know I'm bouncing all around, and I don't mean to ping pong on you guys.
No, and that's fine, but that is a big, that's kind of what I was wanting to lead into, or have you take us into, is exactly this, because you just had mentioned, well, I started Supercross and all this, but what was that catalyst, or what created that? Where did you go, I think I want to start a BMX company here, like what took you
I
there?
never did. And to this day, I still haven't. I've never decided that I want to start a BMX company. And I still, every day when I open the door, I'm like, damn it, I got to do it again. Damn, that bet last night didn't pay off. I should have betted on the Steelers. Man, are the Steelers still a football team? I don't know. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for that one. I don't know. Maybe.
No, I think they're out there. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, nobody watches basketball, so you're good. Don't even.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. That's hockey, right? Steelers.
Yeah.
Hockey?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
No. So everything with all of this stuff, what was that movie? A series of unfortunate events or unfortunate coincidences or whatever. It's weird. The way that I got started working at SC Racing was meeting Scott Bryhop at a riding area in Torrance when I was a kid. And he found out that I was a latchkey kid, and we became friends, and it was always a cool thing. And he was like, hey, tomorrow after school, come to my shop. Here's the address. And I rode over to the shop, and he's like, here's a broom, start sweeping the floors. And I was like, oh, okay. And I honestly didn't know why he was having me sweep the floors, because I was a little scared of him and a little intimidated by him. And at the end of the day, he's like, here's $5. Don't go buy drugs. Okay, cool. And a couple of days later, I saw him again. He's like, hey, tomorrow, show up at the shop again. Okay. And here's $5. Don't go buy drugs. Oh, okay, cool. And that's how my job started at SE. And it ended up turning into being some really good fun times, being a part-time employee at SE, on and off. Todd Huffman, for a little while, when he left and started more distributing, said, hey, you need to come work for me. You need to be a sales guy over here at More Distributing, and you need to work for us. And I was on the road sales guy for More Distributing while I still had the tech thing going. And, it's always been a little bit of a side hustle. And then Mike Devitt was like, nope, you're not going to work for Todd anymore. Todd, F you. Bill, you're coming back to work for me. Get on this phone. You and Perry, you guys are manning the phones. I need sales guys. Okay, cool. And I was at SE the day that Rich Long and Gary Turner showed up and bought all the equipment. And I had known that SE was in some pretty dire straits at that time. And it was like, wow, here we're in this big building and now it's empty. GT just bought all of our shit. Wow. Okay. And it wasn't maybe a couple months later to where Devitt handed me my check on a Friday. And he's like, hey, Monday, don't show up here for work. You go to GT, here's their new address. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I brokered your job. You're over there now. You go work for them. And it was like, okay, no, I'm not doing that. We're not letting the ship sink. I'm sticking here with SE. And he's like, there's no ship anymore. The ship sunk. This is done. We're over. And this was the old Paramount building. And it was like, okay, well, done. So I remember riding my quad angle into GT, my first day at GT. And having Gary Turner just laugh his ass off at me, just going, oh, we're going to get along just great. And I started working at GT, and I worked at GT for a couple of years, year and a half. Got fired a few times, got rehired. Rich and I had a tumultuous, however the proper word is said, relationship, to where, you know, he and I wouldn't see eye to eye. Rest his soul. He's a great man. And I look back on a lot of things that he did now with a lot of respect. You know, back then I was young and dumb and didn't understand why a 40-year-old man was doing certain things in business. And, you know, I was a 17-year-old kid thinking that I knew it better and that it should have been my way. And I didn't know. And at the time when I finally left the final time, a real dear friend of mine, Tommy Brackens, had just been let go. Another dear friend of mine, Kevin Hall, had just been let go. And I wasn't happy, and I wasn't happy with the way I saw things going at GT. It wasn't being fun anymore. And they had just broke ground for the big building on Gothard Avenue. And at the time when I was there, they went from 1 building to 2 buildings to 3 buildings to 4 buildings to 5 buildings to 6 buildings. And, you know, they were all smaller buildings, 10,000 square feet, 7,000 square feet. And they were growing. They were a rapidly growing company. I mean, the first day that I sat down with Rich, he was like, oh man, he goes, you know, we're going to become the General Motors of bicycles, you know, and I'll be damned. He did it, you know.
Yeah.
He had a plan, and he executed it, and he executed it very well. But it wasn't as fun anymore. I mean, I remember when I first started, you know, it'd be going out into the machine shop with Buzz and Gary and Sam, and, you know, we'd cut dropouts. Hey, what do you think about this dropout? How about this? What about doing this? How about we do this? And it was fun. You know, Magoo and I would be out there for 30 hours straight building bikes for the trade show. And, you know, it was fun. We're stickering frames and taking stuff to the paint. I mean, it was BMX. It was a BMX kid's dream, right?
Right.
And like,
of course.
And like I said, you know, I sucked. I enjoyed BMX, but I wasn't fast. I wasn't going to become, you know, I wasn't going to be Billy Griggs. I wasn't going to be the next pro. I wasn't going to be the next fast guy to beat, but I enjoyed it. I wanted to be around it, and I wanted to have fun with it.
Dude,
So,
yeah. You think about this, like there's, you know, that you have these legends, right? That we all know their names. You have the Hall of Famers, but like the community of BMX is made up of passion. And I'm not saying they don't have passion. It's just they had what it took to get to that level. But dude, all of us, like it's the local legends. It's the local kids that are riding on the dirt tracks. Maybe they didn't even go to an actual race, but like that's a community that supported BMX and got it to where it's at. It's people like us. And so I love that it's like, hey, you know, I was never like, if I made a main, bro, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I remember just stacking points for nothing.
Right.
And you were just there because of the community, because of the people that you got to hang out with, that, you know, I liked hanging out with those dirt bags on Friday. You know what I mean? That was my people. You know what I mean? Like going to the Stockton Fairgrounds BMX and watching, you know, I always say this, dude, and I feel bad if I ever meet them, they're probably going to punch me, but like Ronnie and Richie Anderson, dude, would like, they'd fist fight every weekend. Like there would just be fights at the Stockton Fairgrounds. You know what I mean? Love those guys. But like, that was what BMX was to me. It was like, you had to, you earned it. You know what I mean? Like It was, you either got skinned up or you took one in the face, you know, because you lipped off to somebody, the wrong person, you know, that had bigger elbows. But like, that was the 80s, man. And I love that. But I want to know, not to transition swerve or anything like that quick, but what being around GT and watching that growth during that period, and I'm going back, Craig, I'm going back to like the quarter and the bubble gum, like seeing that and watching that. What did you pick up as an entrepreneur for Supercross now that you observed then watching? Like it's like you're like, hey, it was fun, and then it became not fun. Because that keyed in my brain right away, like, okay,
it did mine too. Like he's around like Mike Devitt, Scott Breithaupt, Gary Turner. Look at all the guys who are, you know, taking Bill under their wings or into their company.
Very much so.
They are the pinnacle, or what we think of as like
untouchable.
Owned.
They're the untouchables.
Like, and here you are, Bill. You're like stepping into their world. You know, you're in Breithaupt's world. You're sweeping the shop. You're in Mike Devitt's SE Racing world, and then Devitt's got you going over with Gary, and it's like you've pretty much had a bus stop in each one of these companies where you got to hang out. And even though you're like, oh, this isn't fun, this kind of sucks, you're still in that arena where they are super successful, or they at least can like mold your ideas and thinking, like, even if it's going, I could do this better, you know?
Oh yeah.
And so
I agree. And the one thing that I try and tell everybody is that, well, let me take that back. I don't try and tell everybody. Let me back that up. I don't tell a lot of people. The one thing that I see with it that I keep in my head all the time about this is that you have to keep it fun. You have to do this because you enjoy it. And if you decide that you don't enjoy it, then you need to stop doing it and you need to go do something different. And it gets to be really difficult at times. A famous story that I do tell a lot that I think is hilarious. And I know I've mentioned this to Gary one time and he just shook his head at me, is that we were at the front desk of GT, 6:30 in the morning, and he was telling me how he was going to leave GT. And this is when GT was only in 2 buildings. We were on the container building, the commercial building. So it's long before GT took off. And he's like, no, you know, we're leaving. It's going to be a new company. It's going to be you, me, Sam, Anita, Buzz. We're taking off. We're doing this. Fuck Rich. We're out of here. We're done. We're going to take off. We're going to do this. And he's telling me the story, and he's being very passionate about it because he wasn't enjoying what was going on at GT anymore at that point, because it had become too much of a business. It wasn't the fun. It was too much of a business. And he wasn't happy. And even as an 18-year-old kid, I could see that he wasn't happy. And the phone kept ringing. And back then, the phone at GT was ringing nonstop. And I always had to keep grabbing it. GT, how can I help you? GT, how can I help you? And Gary was getting frustrated. And he looked over at me one time when the phone rang. And he's like, I got it this time. And he grabs the phone. He goes, GT, fuck you. And he hangs up the phone. And I just looked over at him. And he's like, so Bill, what I was saying. And the next time the phone rang, I didn't touch it. I just let it be. And Gary at that point started bringing the dragster into work more. And he bought Cheryl the Porsche, and he got rid of his Mercedes and picked up a brand new Ford F-250. And he put up pictures of his Baja truck up on the wall of his office. And I'm like, all right, cool. Gary's kind of checked out at this point a little bit. You know, Gary's not into the business side of it anymore. Gary wants to be on the fun side of it anymore. And that's where, for me at that point, I was like, oh, okay. And I think that's where I lost a lot of the oomph for what was going on at GT, because one of the times that I had quit is at the start of the year, Rich had told me, hey, Bill, this year, we're only going to warranty 200 frames, because one of my jobs there, and back then there were so few employees, we all wore multiple hats. So I did customer service, I did sales, I did warranty, and I did some of the shipping. So, you know, I'm doing 4 different jobs, and that was part of what I had, you know, part of what I was doing.
What else was there besides welding?
Well,
you did it all.
No, well, we had other salespeople that were specific sales, but you know, and we had other people that would pack orders and invoicing and different things like that. But it was like, okay, so Rich had come to me and said, hey, this year we're only going to replace 200 frames. That's it. That's your limit. That's your quota. we're only going to replace 200 frames this year. And I'm like, well, no, we're going to replace as many frames break, as many frames are defective. That's how many we're going to replace. And he's like, nope, we're going to replace 200 and that's it. That's your limit. Do not cross 200 or you're fired. I'm like, oh, okay. Oof. So we're sometime in March when frame 201 showed up. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. We're 3 months into the year and frame 201 just came in, and I wrote up the order for the guy. Let's replace that guy's frame because, hey, he's a BMXer. He's someone who spent his hard-earned money to buy a GT frame because he wanted a good frame. And I've got a side note for that one of why I felt so strongly about that one. But I'm like, okay, he spent all of his hard-earned money to buy that frame, and he wanted a GT, and he broke it, and he broke it within the warranty period. So guess what? I'm giving him a new frame. I don't care if it's frame 201. I'm doing it. So I wrote up the whole order, and Rich at the time, his office was upstairs in building number 2. And I walked upstairs, knocked on Rich's door, and walked in, and he was on the phone, and waited for him to hang up the phone and said, here you go. And I threw it down on his desk. Fuck you, I quit. And he's, what the fuck are you talking about? He was all pissed off, and I'm like, fuck you, I quit. And he's like, what are you doing? Obviously he didn't remember the conversation at that point anymore. And he picks up the piece of paper and he's like, what is this? And I said, it's frame 201. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's frame 201. And I'm like, you told me at the start of the year that we had 200 frames to warranty. And you could kind of see him going back through his mind. And he's like, well, yeah, 200, that's it. No more. I'm like, yeah, that's 201. It's March. I said, fuck you. I quit. I'm out of here. I'm not gonna tell these people no. I'm out of here. This is it. We're done. And he was like, oh, calm down. Let's go take a look at this. Let's figure this out, and we calmed it down and we worked it all out, and I didn't have to quit that time. But we got it all worked out, and we were sending out more frames for people, and we changed some of the quality control stuff that was going on, but it made it better for people, which is good. That's what we wanted. But it was frustrating. So fast forward just a little bit. And that's when it was right after he had let go of Tommy and right after he had let go of Kevin. And, my friend Turnell, we had been friends since I was 10 years old. And he showed up one day. He had just opened up a bike shop, and he showed up one day and said, hey, Bill, let's go get some lunch. And, yeah, let's go get some lunch. And we were at lunch, and he was telling me about how, he couldn't get anybody to help him run the bike shop. And, he was having all these troubles. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do it. He's like, you're not going to do it. You're not going to come work for me. You work at GT. You're not leaving GT to come work for me. And I'm like, yep. What time you want me there tomorrow? What time you open? And he's like, yeah, you're not doing that. And I went back after lunch and I told Rich, I said, hey man, I quit. I'm done. I just can't do this anymore. And that frame 201 story just resonates with me because I could see the writing on the wall, and it just wasn't fun anymore. It was boxes in and boxes out, and it was too many people, and it was just growing too fast. And it just wasn't BMX to me anymore. And even though it was, and there was a lot of people who came after me that, they had a great time there, and they had a great time. And, I hear about all the stories about, oh yeah, we used to go over to my place, the bar. Yeah, well, yeah, that was great. You guys went to the bar. That was cool. That to me, that wasn't BMX. You guys went and did this. Yeah, cool. That to me, that wasn't BMX.
Sometimes it's done. You know what I mean? There's an era. There's times when it's like the world, or being a grown up, right? Because I'm 50, or I'm going to be 50 in a couple months. But what I've learned in my short time, on this earth, is that the universe, God, something out there lets us know when it's time to pivot. It's time to do a new chapter. It's time to take a risk, or something like that. There's an itch that just being around entrepreneurs as much as I am in my day job, there is an uncontrollable urge, calling, an itch that is never satisfied until you are doing it your way, right? Is you'll hear, oh, I want to do it my way. It's the way that you perceive to be the right way, or the way that it could be, refined without all the rules of a corporate business or a bigger business that is already running down the tracks, right? You have the option to go, I can rebuild it better, right? It's like the $6 million man, like, hey, yeah, this knee works great, but I can do it better. And so, when that time came, is that when you were like, all right, man, I'm going to do my own, let's go?
Yeah, well, at that point, even I wasn't even going to do my own. It was a pivot time to where I was like, hey, I'm out. And I think it was a situation to where I just needed a little bit of a break, and I wanted to help a friend. And when I first went to go do that to help Toonie, it was a situation to where I still had tech going as my side hustle. And I was helping Turnell with his La Palma Cycle Center, and I was getting that bike shop up and running for him. And I helped Tommy get Bracken's Racing started. So we were getting Bracken's Racing built up. So at that point, again, I still wasn't even sure what I really wanted to do with anything. I was like, okay, cool. I've got tech going. Tech's going well. My wife, Yvonne, was still taking care of a lot of the stuff with tech. I was working for Turnell during the day. Tommy and I were working on Bracken's at night, trying to get that going. Tommy was staying with us at the house. We were trying to get things going, and it was BMX, and it was fun. And it was like, okay, this is a cool time. This is what we can get going. And as far as trying to do it my way or trying to do it the right way, I don't know if that was ever so much of the thing, because I've got a ton of people that tell me every single day that I'm doing it the wrong way. And I look at everything that I do and I'm kind of going, yeah, I'm probably doing it the wrong way, but yeah, this is what's going to work for today. And I'm a big one about constant refinement.
That's funny because it makes me think about your stories of being at these different companies. Like and I'm sure it's not not the extreme, but with the same trajectory as you had with your experiences. But do you ever wonder if there's a Bill Ryan within your ranks going, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, or
every day?
Yeah. Like
every day,
someone's sitting there going, I could do this so much better than Bill Ryan. It's not even funny.
They tell me that behind my back and to my face every single day. I see the emails. I get told. I hear it from the other offices. I know it all the time.
What do you think about that, man? Like,
I want them to step up and do it. And right. I always ask them, guys, what can you do better? Because I know I'm not the best. I know I'm not that. I'm the fuck up little kid who's looking for that bubble gum still. Okay.
Sure.
That's what I'm doing. You guys do it better than I do. So fucking do it. Get off your ass and do it. The only thing I do is I show up. That's all I do. I show up. I'm the guy who gets here at 7:30 in the morning. I'm the guy who leaves at 7:30 at night. I get here before you guys do. I'm the one who leaves after you guys. I'm the one who busts my ass all day long. I will outwork you guys every single time. If there's something that needs to be learned, I'm going to learn it. If there's something that needs to be done, I'm going to do it. But if you think you're better and you think you're smarter, then fucking do it. Here's the tools. Here's the resources. Do it.
Right.
And
because when you think about it, it's like, in my brain, I'm going, Bill Ryan should have never got in the BMX business with his experience. He should have been like, I've been through this. I've seen too much crap from the top down to where I was the guy pushing the broom. And there's no way in hell I'm going to try to step into this world and be miserable and put up pictures of my Baja truck and buy Porsches and F-250s. Because these guys just hate their lives, and what the hell do I want to step into this world for?
Right, Craig, think about it. Right, you're like looking at the examples. Right, you're like, okay, Essie, the giant. Right, okay, like BMX innovations, like, okay, we just sold out stuff to GT, like you're watching like companies just drop and you're like, you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
That sounds fun. I'm going to do that too.
Well,
You know,
and as we move forward with this, the whole way to get into where Supercross started, it would have never started if we would have ever found a bike sponsor for our Tech BMX racing team. So a lot of stuff happened. Turnell's store got shut down. His partner didn't end up paying some taxes and the store got shut down. I lost my job there. So what did I go and do? I went and opened up a bike shop. Frick, what am I doing? Why am I opening up a bike shop? But it's what I was doing every day. So I become a creature of habit, right? So that's the thing. I'll outwork you. I'll show up and I'll outwork you because I'm a creature of habit. So I showed up, started up a bike shop at Turnell's old shop. We used to do gate start practice behind the shop. Well, guess what? At our shop, we started doing gate practice behind the shop. And with our Tech BMX team, we started having problems trying to find a bike sponsor. I couldn't get anybody to give Brian, Billy, Glenn, Bogey bikes. Nobody wanted to give them bikes. Just didn't want to happen. Nobody wanted to give them bikes. And I'm like, guys, come on. I've got a banger of a team here right now. And I need to get them on some bikes. Devitt, when he was trying to get SE restarted, said, hey, I'm going to try and get some stuff going. I'm going to make a long quad for you. I'm going to make a long PK Ripper because we gave Brian a PK Ripper and he rode that for a little bit. And he's like, it's too short. I need a bigger bike. And Billy Harrison, we gave him a quad and he's like, this thing's way too short. So first thing Devitt did was he extended the quad angle by 2.5 inches or whatever, took it from an 18-inch top tube to a 20.5 top tube, which was still too short. And Billy's like, oh my God, this thing flexes like there's no tomorrow. I can't ride this. This is horrible. So I sat down and worked with Mike and we designed the Assassin. And I said, okay, cool. This is going to be the bike that we're going to do. We're going to do the Assassin. We're going to make this whole thing happen. And we're going to put the whole Tech team on these Assassins. And I'm going to be back with my roots. I'm going to be back with my SE people. This is going to be awesome. This is what we're going to do. And it just never happened. Mike couldn't get the funding that he needed to get SE racing going again. Things just didn't work out. So I'm still stuck with no bikes for these guys. They need bikes. And Elf at the time had built some bikes for Boss and some things didn't work out. And we ended up trying to have him make some custom frames for us. We had designed up the Supercross rear end and we asked Ken, rest his soul, to build some bikes for us. And after 6 months of waiting, it just didn't work out. Brent Shoup, the owner of Free Agent's son, used to frequent our shop all the time. He was part of the gate practice sessions that we used to have. And he was like, Bill, I'll knock one of those out for you. Don't worry about it. I got you. And he built the first Supercross prototype frame. And it was the geometry that we had drawn up. It was based off of a Free Agent limo, changed the head tube angle a little bit, lengthened out the front end a little bit more from what the Free Agent limo was, changed the bottom right, just little tweaks. But then it had our famous, well, some people hate it, some people love it, but our 6-bar rear end. And he called me up and said, hey, Bill, I got the frame ready. Come get it, and went and got it. The frame's still warm. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. And my roommate at the time was Todd Anderson, the freestyle rider. So I brought it home and
SE guy. What up, SE guy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Red line. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So Todd was my roommate, and he was home and he was like, oh man, Bill, this is awesome. And we built it up and we went riding around the neighborhood for all night long. I don't think we ever slept. I called Billy the next morning, Billy Griggs, and he showed up over at the shop and grabbed it, took it out for a spin, and came back a couple hours later and rides like my bike. And with that, it was just like the best compliment we could have ever had. And it's like, okay, well, let's start a bike company. Let's get this going. Let's make this happen. And at that point, we didn't even have a name for it. We were like, oh shit, okay, we're gonna call it the Tech Frame. Great, we're gonna start making tech frames. And when we were starting to do that, I was like, oh man, you know, I'm gonna piss off Redline. I'm gonna piss off Haro. And at the time, we were making pants for S&M, Chris Moeller. And I knew I was going to piss off Chris if we started making a tech frame. I had known enough about business not to do that. So I'm like, all right, well, we got to come up with a name. And the next day, Magoo and Chris and John Paul showed up at the shop, and they looked at the bike and they're looking at it. And Chris's famous statement to me was like, when the elephants do battle, the ants get trampled. And they walked out. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? When the elephants do battle, the ants get trampled. What am I supposed to take away from that? And the next day in front of our shop were the S&M team leathers with the S&M logos cut off on the front of the doorstep of our shop. I'm like, oh shit, okay, well, now I know exactly what that means. And you know, and Chris is a great guy. Chris and I, you know, talk every once in a while. He's a great guy. You know,
well, basically you had
that was 33 years ago.
Yeah, that was the sign that you had entered that world, that kingdom of like, okay, you want to build frames, you want to build bikes and step into this arena, you know, be prepared, bud. You know, we're the big boys and we're the elephants and you're the ant.
Yeah.
So get ready, right?
Yeah, I figured that one out pretty quick. But, you know, at the time, I'm like, well, okay, here come people that I know, that I'm friends with, that, you know, they come in. That's it. Yep, that's it. All right. You know, turn around, walk out. Didn't even say anything. I'm like, you want guys to ride it? We want to ride it?
Nope.
Didn't even say anything. Just wanted to see it. Just wanted to see with their own eyes that, you know, it existed. And
how did you come up with, I know you're probably walking into it, but what led to the name? Because it's a different name. It's a different brand type name. Where'd you get that Supercross name from?
Well, Billy Harrison and I, and Billy was going to be our premier rider that we were going to start the launch of the whole thing with. And we were kicking around a bunch of different names. And I had told him, I said, hey, you know, what are we going to call this? What are we going to do? Because if we're not going to call it tech, what are we going to call it? And I had run it by him that I wanted to call it Supercross. And he's like, why? Why do you want to call it Supercross? And I'm like, look, man, I said, if BMX is an emulation of motocross, what is the highest level of motocross? Supercross, right? If BMX is an emulation of motocross, what's the highest level? Supercross, right? That was the thing. We were going to the Anaheim Supercrosses back then all the time. It was the badass thing to go watch. Everybody wanted to go watch it. And he's like, man, I don't know. That's kind of weird. I don't know if we should do that or not. And it's like, all right, man, you know, and we had probably 10 or 15 other names jotted down. And I always just kept crossing them out. No. And he's like, let's just call it Ryan Racing. Let's just call it this. And I'm like, dude, I'm not that ego filled and I suck. And if I put my name on it, no one's going to buy one. So we're not doing that.
Can't be worse than White Bear.
Yeah, well, could have been, you know.
I had a feeling it was associated, Isaac. You know, Supercross been around since '89, and you always think like, I wonder if they named it after Supercross. You know, it's like now I could see the connection of you know, bicycle motocross. And now that you mentioned it, Bill, the highest level of that being Supercross. So it makes sense. I kind of always had the inkling that that's where it was from.
Yeah. And that's what we did. And people don't know, but we actually had a lawsuit with the AMA back in, what year was that? 96, 95, where they came after us and said, hey, you cannot use that name. This is our name. You cannot use that name, Supercross. And I was like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And I had to hire a trademark attorney and do the whole thing. And we went through a 1.5-year lawsuit where I was getting nervous going, oh crap, we're going to have to come up with a different name. And, at that point I'm like, okay, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it Race Light. We're going to call it this. We're going to call it that. We're going to call it this. We better start coming up with a different name and start planning on some things, because AMA is going to squash us. And the judge was like, no, you're good. You're fine. You're actually making a product. You're producing a bicycle. They are a series. They're something completely different. And it was funny because prior to that, if someone sent an email to bill@supercross.com and they got it, they would just forward it to us. They were cool about it. They're like, oh, here, we got this. This was, this is early 90s, it's early email days and early internet days. And they were all cordial about it. They're like, oh, here you go, you're fine. And, they meant this for you. And all right, cool. And then when that happened, it was like, oh, no, we're not going to be cordial anymore.
And AMA Supercross back in the early 90s was big. That's when it really was, not that it wasn't big before, but you got guys like Ricky Carmichael, Jeff Emig, Jeremy McGrath, these big guys, and they're making videos, and those videos are selling and kids are getting into it. Supercross was airing on ESPN now, and it's like, here's Bill Ryan, Supercross BMX.
Right. Think about it. Sunday. Like
exactly.
they had that guy.
Yeah.
If you can afford that guy, yeah, dude, you had some coin. You know what I mean? Like you can put that on the radio.
Hey, I like the way you did that. Do you want to do that for a video? You actually made it sound just like him. What do you charge? You charge a quarter?
Bro, yeah, I'm the cheapest. What you got stickers? I'll do. Yeah. I've done. Yeah. BMX stickers are currency to me. So I want to touch on one thing real quick, and then just kind of I want to move on to like the current stuff too. When you look at you look at that 6-bar design, it's to me it's iconic, right? Like that was the first time I saw a problem with it, like a physical solution, like twisting and flex, and now you got 6 bars and it doesn't twist or flex. That to me, I'm like, well, that just makes sense. Okay, that's logic. When you look at BMX bikes today, and where you look at that first Supercross 6-bar frame, and then you look at the bikes that you are selling now, right? You look at those designs, and for me, it's like it's fascinating to look at the innovation that's happened from in a short time, dude. If you really think about like late 80s to now, how the bikes have evolved so much, where it's almost a completely different looking bike.
It is.
And then you see the tracks are completely different than what Craig and I and you grew up on, right? Like these aren't made with just shovels out in like, a field somewhere. Do you think first of all, like when you look at what we have now, if you were to have a magic mirror back in the late 80s and look at, if I could show you, I'm going to give you 30 minutes in 2023 to look at the bikes that are coming out that model year. Would your mind just spin? Did you have any idea that it would be what we're doing?
It'd literally be blown. Looking at some of the materials, we actually just had a composite show where I got to look at some of the new materials that Toray is working on, and some of the other carbon companies. I'm not going to name names because that would tip a hand to some people if they're watching, but there's some cool stuff that we're playing with for 2025 and 2026 that are going to revolutionize things even more than what we're doing now. And to me, it's crazy because I look at the way things have progressed. And when we first designed the 6-bar design, it was to solve a problem. And that's part of why we did call it Supercross, because we wanted to be the highest end. We wanted to be the top. We wanted to be the pinnacle. Watching what Scott had done at SE and how he tried to be the top back then, I wanted to always make sure that we were the top. And I still keep that going to where I don't ever want to have anything be half-assed. I don't want ever there be anything where someone can go, oh, well, yeah, that's kind of okay. We can make it a little bit better. No, everybody, when they buy one of our products, I want them to have a full-fledged feeling of, whoa, okay, this is the best. This is the pinnacle. This is the top. And as I say that, I hate to say it because it's the top for right now, because tomorrow it's going to change. And the day after that, it's going to change, because that's the lovely thing about the world that we're in, because we are truly in the matrix and things continue to evolve. So when we did the 6-bar frame, we were out behind the shop doing gate practice, and I'm watching everybody's chain sag, We only had so many sizes of tubing that were available to us back then. Chromoly tubing, I mean, hey, it's an aerospace structure. The only reason us BMXers ever got lucky enough to be able to use chromoly is because there was an aerospace industry. If there wasn't an aerospace industry, we wouldn't have gotten chromoly. So we were limited to what the aerospace industry needed, and that's what we got to use back then. So I had to look at the frame going, okay, well, I'm limited. I've got 5/8 tubing that I can play with, and I need to start to figure out what I can do with this rear end. And how do I make it stiffer? Well, triangles build a stiffer structure. I always loved geometry growing up. As a poor latchkey kid, the walls of my bedroom were covered in grid paper of frame designs. I had frame drawings on every single wall of my bedroom, just drawn out, every single frame. And I would do overlays and overlays and overlays and overlays on grid paper, just life-size frames. And I would take all the drawings that would be in BMX Action magazine and BMX Plus magazine, and I would take protractors and draw it all out. And I knew, okay, triangulation, and I got to do this. And if I need to figure out a stiffness issue, I need to figure this out. So we designed that 6-bar rear end, and we solved a problem. And as we've moved forward with everything now, with our new Vision F1 frame, it's a full carbon monocoque frame, to where it is one piece of continual carbon from head tube to tail. It's not a bonded and glued, it's a continual piece. It is lighter, it is stronger, it is stiffer, it launches faster. And that's exactly what we did with that 6-bar design back then. We wanted to make it lighter, stronger, stiffer, faster, because that's what we as BMX kids wanted. We wanted lighter, stronger, stiffer, faster. You know, mini truck
titanium nipples.
Titanium nipples, you know.
Yes.
The Great Cornholio, Beavis and Butthead style, you know, that we wanted that. Yeah. And that's where we've tried to continue moving that forward. So we've always wanted to build that best. We've always wanted to give you that. You know, we went with Patco seamless tubing, just like how now we use the Torre T1100 KS material. You know, it's the greatest carbon material that's allowed for bicycle use, you know. And is it expensive? Yeah, it's expensive, but you know what? It builds the best damn product that you can possibly get.
Yeah.
And that's just like back in the day. So
let me ask you this. Are you proud of where BMX is? Are you proud of where we landed in 2022?
No.
What would you do different?
Oh,
it's a whole new show, right?
That is a whole new show. That's a loaded question. Yeah. And here's what I'll say. I love BMX. I have a deep, deep, deep passion for BMX. the sad part is that I see BMX losing some of the fun that we used to have. And where I get a little upset with it is that I watch it being taken way too seriously on way too many angles, on way too many faces. And it's not about the kids having fun anymore. And that's part of where, you know, we constantly are putting forward, it's fun. It's fun. Have fun. Yeah, winning is fun. Don't get me wrong. Hey, winning is fun. Riding is fun. Being with your friends is fun. Going out and enjoying your time is fun. We get a very short, very finite amount of time on this planet. You get a very short, finite amount of time to be a kid. Guess what? Enjoy it. Have fun with it. And I'm sorry, I know that that may not sound normal to some people, but I want everyone to be able to enjoy their time. And I want everybody to really, truly grasp what they enjoy and love and enjoy and have that time to be able to focus on that fun and the fun factor of BMX. And that's where I have to say that no.
I really connect with that, Bill, because, you know, aside from the fact that I'm not in the business of BMX and building bikes or components or anything like that, I'm a passionate fan. I'm a passionate rider. I've been riding bikes since the early 80s. I love that part of my life. I love the fun of being with my friends on a dirt handmade track at a baseball field. But, you know, when I look at the things and you talked about where BMX has gone, and I'm thinking like, yeah, you know, it's in the Olympics now. The bikes are so modern and so well built. You were talking about how well built bikes are now, the geometry, the technology, the groomed courses. And then I just got back from Frogtown up in Angels Camp, where guys are going, we need to do this more. This was awesome. And there's kids out there, and I'm not taking away from the upper echelon performance or competitiveness of the Olympics or USA BMX. That's not where I'm going. But what I did see at Frogtown with guys like Mike Miranda and Perry Kramer and Tracer Finn and all these amazing guys and you know, out there,
Moeller.
Moeller. You put the name on it and they were there, but the smiles, the hugs, the kids out there, and dad's going, this is what I used to race, son, when I was a kid, you know, kind of like, this is back to the grassroots. This is the roots of our sport. I love that part, man. And that kind of just what you just said may or may not reflect in what I'm trying to say, but it seems like it is. Like, it's great to have all this advancement, but it's also great to remember where we came from.
I think it does truly reflect, Craig. One of the things that I've tried and tell a lot of people is that you do need to have that remembrance of where we came from. The one thing that I have a difficult time, and that's where it was difficult for me to say no, is that I love our sport because it's BMX. And I can tell you that the 11-year-old kid who's out there riding right now, if you go on to USA BMX's Instagram and look at their little ODI photo contest that they just did, if you look at photo number 7, that's little rider Murky who rides for us, and he's doing a dog pisser jump, which to me, I love that, because here's a little 11-year-old kid doing a dog pisser, and it's awesome and it's rad. And that 11-year-old kid, this time in BMX, that groom track, the bikes that we're building right now, everything that we're giving him right now is his memory that was our memory from the early 80s. So where I get upset is when I hear people going up to him and going, dude, you don't know how we had it so much better. This BMX sucks, blah, blah, blah. No. Guess what? All BMX is great. All BMX is great. So what happened at Frogtown? I didn't get to go. I wanted to go and check it out. Redmond was like, come on, dude, jumping in the truck. Let's go. We're going to take my cowboy Cadillac. We're going. Let's go. And I was like, I can't do this right now. I've got some things, but I want to go. I heard it was a great time. And that is awesome. And I love that. And I hear that there's going to be some other events coming up that are going to be really cool like that. Pretty excited about that.
Dirty Fest. I'm just going to tell you guys, Dirty Fest. Yeah. Check out Mike Miranda's podcast with EK, everybody over there at the Dirty Knobs podcast. They are doing a super dope weekend of BMX. Follow them. The Dirty Fest is coming.
Okay. So you leaked it, not me. So we were talking about it all day today.
Yep. I leaked it. But
I agree
Sorry,
with you,
Mike.
Bill. You know what? And we talk about this with where we're at, Isaac and I, in the world of big bike BMX and what we do. Some of the kids that are coming into the BMX scene are coming into bike life. They're coming into bigger bikes, and this is what they know.
Yeah.
We can tell them if, I have kids come up to me, and I've told this to many people, and they go, "Hey, I'm learning this new trick. What else can I do?" I go, "Well, do you really want to see some cool stuff from back when I was a kid? Go check this guy out on YouTube." And that's if they, want to check out Eddie Fiola, or if they want to check out,
why would you
Scott
go check
Freeman.
out Eddie Fiola? Come on.
Well,
no,
they want to.
I'm joking. Come on. Eddie's a bro.
Yeah, I got you. You're right. So, but if they're like, "Hey, I want to learn some flatland or whatever, go check this guy out." Anyways, you're right. That kid's moment of BMX is where he's at that moment.
Yeah.
That's his Frogtown. Is he's living his 30 years from now. He'll go, "Yeah, I used to race in USA BMX. We had groom tracks. It was beautiful. And I wish we had that again."
Yeah, because at that point, the bikes are going to be hovercrafts. They're not even going to touch the ground.
Right.
They're hovercrafts. He's going to go, "Back in my day, we had groom dirt. You guys are sitting on this pillow of air. This is bullshit. You're always jumping. Yeah. I actually had to get off the ground. You guys are already off the ground."
And his kid will say, "Well, Dad, you raced hovercraft. We have an implant with the memory chip that we VR it in
Matrix,
yeah.
blue pill, blue pill."
Let me put it in this kind of perspective too, because I see it all the time. I see it in the big bike community, and I see it from people like me that are looking at it in a completely like solo lens, right? So I remember, and just for perspectives, right? And I think this is kind of what you were mentioning too. Like, you see an 11-year-old living his best life doing a dog pisser, right? When I was 10, 11, I had a Henderson hauler, and I remember putting Skyway axle pegs in the bike shops. Like, "You're ruining your BMX bike by doing that." And I'm like, "I'm going to ride it more," is what I'm thinking, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm going to do this more. And so when I was making all the BMX kids, and dads and parents and bike shop owners mad from doing tail whips out at the cement slab on the side of the Stockton Fairgrounds on Friday night BMX night, like, they're telling me I'm BMXing wrong, right? I'm not doing it right. And so now we fast forward, right? I'm almost 49, or I'm 49, almost 50. And, you see the, big bikes, right? You see them, you see the bike life kids, or my generation will be like, "Oh, the wheelie kids," almost like it's derogatory, right? Okay. It's the wheelie kids that are doing stuff. And I'm like, if I look at Flatland, it was doing tricks on a BMX bicycle, whatever size it was. That we didn't really have rules on the size that it could be. It just happened to be 20, 24. So you're doing tricks, and you're breaking the rules of BMX. And the whole point is like, how many tricks can I do without touching the ground?
Yeah.
Fast forward to bike life. They're doing a wheelie, and they're trying to do as many tricks as they can do on that wheelie, kicking their foot over, dropping to their knee, and landing on the pedals backwards. And the whole goal is like, don't drop your wheel, keep the wheel up. And it's freestyle in this era. Don't get bummed out when you see these kids doing this stuff, or tell them like, "Oh, you shouldn't swerve cars." Like, I agree, don't swerve cars, because the dedication it takes to learn BMX tricks and to repetitively fail at something and then pull it off and learn is the same way we're going to cure cancer and cure Parkinson's and fix the world, because you're going to learn that stuff. But the thing about it is, Vander was doing wall rides. Vander Spec was doing wall rides on buses in the 80s. And so I have no room to stand and say, "Oh, be safe. The dad in me, right? The adult in me is going like, please be careful with your brain, because I need you to continue to solve problems when I'm too old to wheel my wheelchair out there. But I understand it, dude. Like, these kids are doing the same stuff we did, right?
Yeah. And then you were being told, hey, kid in the parking lot doing tail whips, that's not BMX.
Right.
That's not BMX.
Yeah.
What are the kids in our circles being told today?
Yeah, it's
hey,
not BMX.
dude, that's not BMX.
And that's where it was hard for me to say that no without giving it that full explanation.
Yeah.
Because every bit of BMX, and I don't care if it's the kid out there on the balance bike. We've got this little kid, Cash, that Chad, who works here, it's his son. The kid, you know, he loves to ride. He's 4 years old, and Cash just kills it. And he's 4. He just loves it. Nobody's telling him that the dirt's any different than it was. No one's telling him how he's got to jump. No one's telling him. And he went from the balance bike to where he was just jumping and hopping and having fun. And I got upset because at a couple of the different races where their kids were having the balance bike races, they'd get mad at him because he'd go off the little jumps and he's trying to do little kickouts and trying to do little tabletop things on his balance bike. And parents are going, no, you need to race. You need to race. You need to go faster. Dude, the kid's 3. He's 4 years old.
Dude,
he's having fun on
on
a balance bike. He's stoked. He is fun. He's having fun on 2 wheels. Yeah. And one of the things that we have a saying around here is just butts on bikes. That's all we want to do. And that's funny because I always go back and forth with Todd Lyons, and I always joke around with him. I mean, I always push on him to where, like, Isaac, you've got that head to badge of the SE bikes in the background. I always give him hell. It's not SE bikes, it's SE racing. Get it right, you know? And he's like, Bill, shut up, you know, come on. And we always just joke around. But, you know, when he gets on, you know, we ride as one. Yeah, dude, guess what? We all need to ride as one, because as long as we get butts on bikes, as long as people are enjoying what they're doing, I don't care if they're on a fixie. I don't care if they're on a mountain bike. I don't care if they're on a balance bike. I don't care if they're on a BMX bike. We all have that stoke to be on a bike. We all have that stoke to go out there. Now, our passion is BMX, and it changes. Everything evolves. I mean, mini trucks evolve, big trucks evolve, 4x4s evolve, Volkswagens evolve. I mean, everything, it all evolves. It all changes. And, you know, hey, if I like a classic BMW, I can still like a new BMW, but there's differences. You know, am I going to call BMW and say, hey, you need to go back to, you know, a standard fuel injection and do this? And screw that. You know, things evolve, you know, it's part of it. And that's where these kids today, I mean, again, you know, I love watching Ryder, or like if you go onto our Instagram, you'll see little Ty Miller. Man, the kid rips. He's 10 years old over in England. The kid just has no care, and just the way he rides. I don't care if he hits a freestyle track, a park, if he hits, you know, a pump track, if he hits a BMX track. The kid's just got style, and he just rides. And he's 10. He loves BMX. He rides. And that's part of where, with our team, I'm so stoked with everybody that we've got, to where I don't pick riders because they're number one. I pick a rider because, are you cool? Are you a good kid? Are you a great person? You know,
do you like bubble gum?
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna have to use that as a new thing.
Yeah, but, we do the same thing here, Bill, as far as a podcast goes. I mean, Isaac and I have the same passion. I feel like you and I and Isaac could get on our bikes right now, and it doesn't matter if you're a racer, Isaac's a freestyler, and I'm a wheelie guy. We could go out and have fun together.
Hell yeah.
We put people in this honorable guest seat like you're in right now because you love and you have the passion for being on a bike, the butt on the seat, right? So we got Hall of Famers, we got freestylers, we've got guys who own parts companies, we have BMX builders, show guys, you name it. It's the whole circle of people who are passionate for bikes. And we don't call it out by what clique you're in or what section of BMX you like. You like bikes? We're friends.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. And that's the way it should be.
Here's a good example. Like I keep bringing up Chandler BMX, but I was there last night, right? And so we're hanging out, we're watching the what was it, the The Strider bikes, dude. Yeah, balance bikes.
Yeah, the bounce
And
bikes.
that, like, I've been going out there for a little while, and I've been watching this like evolution, because the Striders are my favorite, because those kids, like, I think, first of all, I'm just gonna be real upfront. When you see like a 3-year-old geared out with like all the helmet and the pads, and then they've got like the neck brace thing, like a linebacker, dude, I'm all in for that content. I am all in for that kid, and I'm all in for those parents. So those are my favorite to watch. And then I've been watching them, like, they started lighting their bikes with like LED lights to like get their kids even more stoked to get on the bike. But last night, dude, talking about like all the things we do, we go ride, and we all would hang out. We're all chasing the stoke. We're all looking for that. You know, for me, I'm always chasing about, at this point in my life, on my BMX bike, I'm always chasing the balance point, that float where I'm not touching the brake and I'm just pedaling and I'm living it.
Yeah.
For these kids last night, dude, there was, I think it was maybe 5 of them, right? So their parents are up there, they're on, and I'm painting a picture for you listening on the podcast that are just listening to this, but imagine all the parents up on top of a tabletop. Your kids are on these balance bikes, geared up in like 80 pounds, 3 times their body weight, right? And you let them go. And basically you just hope they go, right? Momentum, do your job, gravity. And these kids take off, and they're doing their thing. And these 2 kids, man, they were like third, fourth, and fifth. And one kid is like going up, he's absolutely dead last. He or she is dead last. And the kid in front of them is going up the jump and starts to lose it. I watched the last place kid dump their bike to go push the other kid up the jump so they would make it and go back for their bike.
Yeah.
And literally, I mean, here's me throwing up like the metal horns. Like, that is the most BMX thing that I've seen in the last, 5 years for me going to tracks. Like, I see the banging, I see that, but that is 2 kids having the best time they've ever had on BMX bikes. And it wasn't about who won. It wasn't who had the lights. It was like, dude, I don't want you to fall back either. Let me get you. And then I'm gonna come up and get my bike and we'll go ride this again.
Yeah.
That's BMX. And that to me has been consistent. And when I look at it, seeing that last night and remembering what BMX was like with your friends. And I remember like how many kids you could fit in the back of a Mazda B2000, right? With your bikes, and like, there's
The
always that
answer's
odd
32.
kid. Yeah, there's that one
Yeah.
kid that drew the short straw that has to lay on the bikes all the way to San Francisco in case like the wind doesn't take the bikes out, right?
Yeah.
But dude, BMX is alive and well, right? Here we are, Supercross. You've got your anniversary, you got your radiversary. I want to talk real quickly before we close. I want to talk about the big bikes that you have, because our audience, like, we have guys that like they grew up with Supercross. Maybe that was one of their first bikes. Maybe that was the bike that they wanted, but they couldn't afford. Now they have a better paper route. And now I've seen some big bikes that you are producing. The iconic 6-bar is back.
Yes.
Limited run.
Limited run.
I really, Craig, you're going to appreciate all the feelings of something I'm going to show you. Because I got a pair. These are also a limited edition, I believe, of 100, maybe.
Yep, 100 pair.
100 pair of Supercross anniversary pad set. And then let me show you over here. You've got the 33 logo there. It's got the Supercross logo you all know. And it's made by Flight, you guys. So like keeping it real. You could have had anybody make these, to be honest with you, right? You could have had any company could have made these. You could have got the price point down to about $8 or 8 cents per packaging if you went with the cheapest place you can go. You got Flight to make your pads. To me, this is the huge nod to my childhood by going, I got you, dude. I know who you are. I know what you like. Let me show you this like anniversary pad set from Flight, dude. That was a sick come up when it came to that merch. Tell me more about the anniversary merchandise and what you have for us nostalgic old farts.
Sure. Well,
to spend our money on.
I honestly truly appreciate that, because again, I'm a big bike geek, and I want to try and bring stuff to market that I would want. And
You're one of us, dude. So you get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like to think I am, for our 30-year anniversary, when we were going through that, like I said, I was going through a heart surgery. So some things kind of got a little bit weird, and I didn't get to celebrate it the way that we really wanted to, but we did a really cool 30-piece 29-inch in chrome, 30-piece 29-inch in black of the 6-bar, and then we did 10 of the original 6-bar 20-inch Pro XLs just as a limited edition bike. And with that, I actually reached out to Michelle Sheehan from S&S Racing. I'm sure you guys are familiar with S&S bikes from, they used to be back in Round Rock, Texas. They were one of the iconic mail orders back in 89, 90. They were one of our original mail order houses and original bike shops that used to carry our product. And they used to make tiger teeth. They actually made the bitchin' bolts. They were the ones who actually came up with bitchin' bolts. If it was not for S&S, we would not have bitchin' bolts.
No shit.
And, oh, no shit.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that story.
Yeah. So S&S Racing came up with bitchin' bolts. Her son, Ryan, unfortunately passed away. He committed suicide a couple of years ago. I reached out to her and said, hey, I'm going to do this 30-year commemorative bike, and I want to make a replica of the old Tiger Tooth and do it in Ryan's honor. So we tried to do a really cool thing for that year, for our 30 year. So there was 30 pieces chrome, 30 pieces black. They all had a tiger tooth on it. They all had redline flights on it. Made it to where it was pretty bitchin'. And at that time, we also had Flight do a replica run of what we did for our original Flight pad sets back in the day, because originally Flight made our pads. So I reached back out to Flight and said, hey, do you happen to have the original invoice? Because I do. And our first run, we did 50 pieces of red and 35 pieces of blue, and we did 27 pieces of whatever. And, and they're like, yep. So we duplicated that order. And
no way.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you got the number. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we did it off of the original invoice. So that's what we did for the 30-year anniversary. And all of those frames we built out of Tongay Prestige. We actually got Tongay to break out the old Prestige tubing molds, and we built it all with Tongay Prestige and made it pretty cool. It was pretty fun, because since those bikes were limited edition, we had some people. I had one guy drive up here and he's like, hey, he threw down $5,000 on my desk. And he's like, I've got to take one now. And I'm like, sorry, man, they're already pre-sold. They're shipping out to people. And he's like, no, you're only selling them for 1,300. I've got 5G. I'm giving you 5G. I'll take that one. I don't care who it is. I've got 5G. And it's like, no, sorry, not doing it. So there's some little problems with that, because we had Symbiosis, which is a company, Tongay, build those bikes for us. And the bikes were supposed to come with a sealed bearing hub, and they didn't. And we got beat up on the message boards. I mean, we got beat up on the message boards. And we ended up giving people discounts. We sent out people t-shirts. We sent out hoodies. We sent out all kinds of stuff because I felt bad. Because again, I'm one of those guys. And the sample bike showed up with sealed bearing hubs. We signed it off with sealed bearing hubs. We've never made complete bikes before. So
you know what to look for.
Yeah. So I didn't know. I mean, hey, the sample bike showed up with sealed bearing hubs, and the spec sheet shows sealed bearing hubs. So, let's go. All of a sudden we get the 60 pieces of them in. I didn't take them out. We shipped them out to everybody. Hey, they're boxed up.
I would have done the same. I would have done the exact same.
People start getting them, and they're like, hey, hubs aren't sealed. And I'm like, hold on. No, I just checked. Hubs are sealed, and they're like, nope, not sealed. And I'm like, no, I'm looking at one right here. I've got it right here. I've got the wheel. It's in my hand, and they're like, go open another box. I'm like, we've shipped them out to everybody. They're already gone. So start getting a couple other people, hey, hubs aren't sealed. And it's like, oh my God, what a nightmare. So we ended up taking care of everybody the best that we could. And it's like, okay, man, you know what? These big bike guys, I love doing these big bikes because we started doing big bikes back in 2001, 2002, when we built the first Azusas and when we built those first No More A's and when we did those first 26-inch quads before SE, became back again. We did those first 26-inch GJSs with Jeff Utterback. I love the big bikes. And I got really offended that we are getting so beat up over something when we were trying to take care of it and trying to make it good for everybody. So I got a little bit bitter, whatever. We move on, we walk forward. COVID hit. I'm doing everything, getting ready for all of our other stuff. And I'm like, man, our 33-year anniversary is coming up, our radiversary. All right, time to do something cool again. I want to do something cool. And I'm like, well, I promised everybody that I wouldn't do any more 29-inch Tange Prestige bikes. Promised everybody. And I'm going to be a man of my word. We will not do any more Tange Prestige 29-inch frames. Not going to happen. Those 30 chrome and those 30 black, those are the last. We will never touch Tange Prestige on a 29-inch frame ever again. Done. We did this run make some 26-inch Reynolds triple butted, air hardened chromoly frames. And we did a limited run. We did 50 pieces. I think we've got 20 of them left, maybe. I think Chad shipped out a couple more today. And they're badass. I built it up off of the geometry of Scott's old OM flyer that I used to have years ago. I just pulled up that old geometry sheet.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably walk over to the wall, just like,
yeah,
here we go. Like, yeah, you already had
protractor out and everything.
Yeah, protractor.
Yeah. Added a little bit extra to the front end just for us older guys that have a little extra belly room on there that we need. And we built these 26ers right now. And oh my God, they ride great. And we did 50. They're all serial numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's been a fun project. We did some 24-inch XLs as well, again in the 6-bar design. And it's a fun project. It's been cool. We did some of the Radiversary keychains. We've been doing some cool clothing, the old throwback clothing. We were working on. Thank you.
Yeah, the jersey. Okay, so the jersey is spot on for a dude like Craig. You're gonna just like salivate because it is exactly like an 80s jersey, right? It's
you think I haven't seen these or something?
Yeah, dude, it's perfect.
You're talking to 80s BMX Craig, bro.
It is.
Don't forget who your co-host is.
It is perfect. I love it. This is just off the top of my head. I've always wanted to ask this dude, where did the bobbleheads come from? Because I think that is, as just a nerd that like, I mean, you guys, this is going to be full disclosure, but you're seeing me this is impromptu. I have bobbleheads galore. I'm a Star Wars nerd, and I have bobbleheads of like Baby Yoda all over. I love bobbleheads, you guys. And Supercross makes bobbleheads of BMXers and some familiar faces you may have grown up with, around a BMX Plus magazine.
Yeah.
How did all that happen? Where did that come from?
Okay. So again, like you guys, I'm a BMX fan. I'm also a music fan. And one year for Christmas, my sister got me a Devo bobblehead.
James Devo. Yes.
And I'm like,
I love it.
All right, cool. Devo bobblehead. This is freaking awesome because
you said Devo, right?
Yeah, Devo.
Yeah, Devo.
Oh, okay.
Battery head.
Yeah.
Battery.
No, I get it. I thought you said
exactly.
I thought you said Dio. I was like, they have Ronnie James Dio bobblehead.
No, they actually do have a Ronnie James Dio one, which would be awesome. Right. But no, it was a Devo bobblehead because I'm a big Devo fan.
Yeah.
And on the box, it said, you know, 1 of 1,000 signed limited edition thing. And I'm just like, man, that is really cool. And part of what BMX is missing is collectability stuff. We're missing different things like that. And I'm like, man, I wonder how hard it would be to make a bobblehead. Fuck, excuse my language. That was a rabbit hole that I did not want to go down though. I got ripped off by no less than 5 different factories trying to get the first bobblehead done. Probably cost me $16,000. And I was like, man, what the hell is going on? Why do I still want to keep obsessing on this? Why do I still want to do this? This is just not right. This is a strange sickness. And like I said, I may not be smarter than you, but I'll outwork you. So I kept trying and I kept trying and I kept trying. And I finally got an agent who said, hey, I think we've got a factory that can do this. It's going to cost $3,000 deposit. It's this, it's that, it's this. And I'm like, yeah, let's give it a try, but I want to see a sample of some of their work first. And they sent me a sample of a bobblehead that they had done. And I was like, all right, cool. This is up to par with what I want to do. And I had one of our riders pose, and we have to do a full turn style for him to where it's front, 45, front 90.
It's like a 3D scan.
Yeah. So we sent him all the pictures, did the whole thing, got the clay model done. And I'm like, whoa, all right, this is pretty awesome. Let's keep moving forward. And finally we got to the point where I'm like, all right, we can do this. This is going to be freaking rad. Okay, let's do this. So we made the first bobblehead. And I'm like, okay, well, what do we got to do? We got to do something cool. We got to make this rad. So I'm like, let's do 1 out of 500. And I'm like, okay, well, if I do 1 out of 500 and I've already got this much money invested, I'm going to lose my ass on this. And I'm like, well, doesn't matter. You know what? Let's just do this and let's see how the people react. So the first year that I took the bobblehead to Grands, people were just like, oh my God, that thing's so cool. And me and my absolute idiocracy, I turned the bobblehead into my alter ego to where it's, hi, I'm Bob. Nah, 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 nah. And I'm going up to people and I'm having conversations with Bob. And if there was someone at Grands that I didn't like, Bob and I would have a conversation about that person in front of that person. And they're like, what the hell is going on? And I'm having the bobblehead tell them off, and I'm like, oh, Bob, I'm so sorry. He shouldn't have said that. And it was, like some stupid, ventriloquist act. And I'm like, oh my God. And
there's 30 people right now going, wait a minute.
Yeah. Maybe 30, maybe 33, but it was just like, what the hell? And it was cool. And people were like, where do I get one of those? Where do I get one of those? Where? How do I get one of those? Where? And I'm just like, cool. And we sold out of the first 500 like that. And I'm like, oh, rad. People like these things. This is cool.
We like knickknacks. We like knickknacks, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So we went ahead and did the next one. And the next one was our 30-year anniversary one. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be cool. This is our 30-year anniversary one. He's got Oakley goggles on. He's got Vans on. He's got Tech leathers on. I'm like, rad, this is good. And the first 200, boom, off the shelf like that. I'm like, oh shit, okay, this is going to go good. And my buddy Damian Fulton calls me up and he's like, hey, I need your bobblehead guy. And I'm like, well, Damien, I said, I'm probably 25 grand deep in with this guy, with this whole project right now. I'm losing my ass on this. And he's like, I want to make Radical Rick into a bobblehead. I'm like, cool. Said, I can point you down this. I said, but it's going to be a nightmare. I said, but here's the thing that I would like to help you with is that I said, why don't we team up and do this together? I said, because I'm already down this rabbit hole and I would like to see that happen. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. So
let me get off my bike and push you up the hill.
Yeah.
Right?
Let me
It's
get
a
off.
BMX thing.
It's a BMX thing. And the thing that brought tears to my eyes on it was the fact that when Damien opened the first Radical Rick bobblehead, he said it made him cry because he said that he had never seen his little buddy in 3D before. His little buddy had always been a 2D height, width.
For all of us. Yeah.
It had never been 3D. And he didn't know it was coming to him. He had sent me the flat art because we didn't have a Radical Rick to photograph. We couldn't do the 45s. We couldn't do all that stuff. So I had him give me a front and a back, and I had to work with the artist to do the clay molds based off of that. And it took a lot longer to get the Radical Rick one done. And it kind of sidelined a lot of what I was trying to do with our Supercross ones. But I was like, man, I loved Radical Rick growing up. And I love Damien. Damien is an amazing man. I mean, frick, talk about a brother. I love that guy. If you ever need a friend, if you ever want to talk to somebody that is just a genuine, heartfelt friend, you call Damien. Damien, my God, I love that.
We had a good time. We had him on the show. He was an incredible guest, and it's, you could just tell he's got that something to him.
Yeah.
Love that.
Speaking of the bobblehead thing, Bill, a friend of ours, his name he goes by Richie Rich on Instagram, but he's taken that Radical Rick bobblehead with him to all his events, all his races, or wherever he goes on his bike, and he puts that Radical Rick up on something and he'll take a picture of it.
That's cool.
Go, yeah. And that thing travels with him, and that's what he takes photos of. So
that is awesome.
Yeah.
City to city. So anytime there's like a big ride out, you'll see Radical Rick rides with the big bikes. Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, wait till you see what we've got going on for Damien, because I mean, obviously you all know that aside from Radical Rick, I had to convince Damien, and Damien will probably shoot me for telling this story, but Damien immediately after we did Radical Rick wanted to do MX Mug. And I'm like, no. And he's like, what do you mean? No, we're not doing MX Mug. And I'm like, we can't. That's the obvious move. We can't do MX Mug. And he's like, well, we gotta do something. And I'm like, we're doing Scuzzer. And he's like, oh, okay. And I said, we're building the story. We're building the hype, because we have Radical Rick, and then we have Scuzzer come into the picture, and Scuzzer kidnaps Radical Rick. Well, now we got to have MX Mug come to be able to help save his buddy. You know, now we've got the story being generated. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go start working on the book. And I'm like, oh, now you made me happy. And he's like, Bill, will you write an intro for my book? And I'm like, yes, that's great. Let's do this. Let's make this happen, you know? And there's a whole thing to where you're going to see there's going to be a full Radical Rick thing. And awesome. It's just a fun project. And
I hope you guys can figure a way to do the Attack-a-Lack. That would be amazing. Like, that would be my dream.
Wait till you see what we're doing for Spike Speed Wrench. You're gonna love it,
dude. I'm in.
Wait till you see.
I'm in.
Let me ask
cool things.
All right. So, I mean, do you happen to have anything? Because like I don't think that just talking about these bobbleheads really do them justice. Because if I say bobblehead, it doesn't, you may be thinking a 2-inch tall bobblehead. You may like, do you have any of these close by that you can show us?
Yeah. So on my desk here, I have the first bobblehead we did. So they're 7-inch tall little bobbleheads. This was the first one that we called Bob. Hey, get out of here, guys. Whoa, hey, be nice. Oh, all right. Sorry, guys. I love Big BMX Bike Show. I watch it all the time. Okay, well, cool. That's good. At least you said something nice, because I know I haven't fed you all day, so I know you're a little perturbed.
Dude, the
So-
detailing on that stuff is just incredible. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Thank you. I'm not sure how much you can see, but like on this one, we did a full fly F2 helmet sculpt. We did the full CD shoes sculpt. We did the full fly. This was the kinetic leather sculpt. So it was what the team was wearing that year. So that was the first one. The second one we did was the retro that has the little 30-year anniversary on the back, the Oakley goggles, the Jofa. It's got the little mullet hanging out the back, the Vans old school shoes, you know, giving the Terry Tennant double thumbs up, you know. So this one, everybody always asks, hey, who is that? Which rider was that? And it's got a little bit of mix of the Kevin Gentry helmet, the Billy Harrison hair, the Todd Steen jersey and pants, the Ray Luscombe shoes. So everybody called him Retro Ray, because it's like, oh, all right, cool. Retro Ray. I like it. The first one, everyone just called Bob. Okay, cool. Bob. So then, sorry, I didn't mean to get loud into the mic. This gentleman was very, very difficult to do. As you can see, it says Radical on his back, holding his #1 plate. He also has the Van shoes. He has the Haro style mouth guard. He's got the 5-snap visor. 2020 Damian Fulton on there. So, and then of course, if we have the hero, we have to have, as we talked about, the anti-hero, the fun-loving Scuzzer Switchblade. No party's ever complete until Scuzzer shows up to the party. It's just one of those things. He's got all the hair coming out of his chest. I've never looked under the loincloth, but you can see that there's a little shadow coming, and I've always been kind of afraid to look under the loincloth because it's just one of those things. I'm just not wanting to do that, but he's got the multicolor mullet. He's got the little sad face pin. He's got the mom heart tattoo.
Does he have, did you sculpt veins in the back of the ear?
Yes.
Dude. I've never
Scott.
seen the back that I can never say, I can't say that I've ever seen the back of Scuzzer. Like, I've
Scuzzer's
never
head.
seen it. Yeah, you've never seen Scuzzer from behind.
So he's got all
crazy.
the warts. He's got the bulging muscles. He's got all the little veins. He's got the teeth. I mean, we tried to create him as, sorry, he's so dusty. I don't clean my desk often, and he's been living on my desk
He's
for a
Scuzzer.
couple years.
He's supposed
Yeah.
to be dusty.
The
That's
scary
amazing.
thing is he smells really bad.
I bet.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
He stinks. And then a couple of our team riders, we've actually done little sculpts for little mini bobbleheads of them, to where everybody loves when we send out our packages. We've got our little cartoon stickers that we send out. And now we've done little mini bobbleheads of some of the more popular riders and people who've been with the family for a while. I mean, KJ's been with us for a dozen years, and Bella's been with us for 9 years. So it's not like, oh yeah, we're gonna make a bobblehead for you and have a have you guys disappear the next year,
Right. No, dude, that's such a cool nod just to the fan base, to BMX, just like, because you got to think, like, you could have just went all in and made it all about Supercross and all about, like, I'm just going to do this for me. But here you've got, this is a gift back to BMX. Like, let me enable you to have this stuff, because I already know I'm already in on it, right? I know this crowd because I am this crowd. Like, that to me is just such a rad, pardon the pun, but like like a rad concept, right? Like, hey, I could have made this, I could have just done the Supercross stuff, but you know what? I'm gonna make a radical Rick. I'm gonna give you that piece of your childhood because I want it. And
Yeah.
that to me that's perfect. All right.
Actually,
So
that's exactly what I did. I wanted one of myself, and I figured, well, it's either $20,000 to make one for myself, or I can make $20,000 and make 500 of them, and just dish them out to you guys at $30 a pop or whatever it was that Damien gets his little cut off of, and away we go. I wanted one, so.
Dude, okay, so let me see this, the 26. We talked about the 26. You're at the warehouse, so I know that you have it and you could show it to us. Let's see it.
Yeah,
And just
I ran downstairs, grabbed one for you.
Talk us through all the details that you've got in this frame.
So first off, we start off with a Campy integrated CNC machined head tube, and on this we did do the original 6 bars didn't have what I like to call this Haro or red line style of gusset. But for these bigger bikes, I like to give that a little bit of extra reinforcement and give a little bit of an extra fork clearance and everything for everybody. And of course, we had to go ahead and stamp in the Supercross logo, because we have had a lot of people that like to pull the decals off, which, hey, a lot of people like to run a naked frame. So cool. If you want to run a naked frame, at least, people will still know it's a Supercross if they don't know what that 6 bar is. So the 6 bar back there, the original traditional Supercross design, we did follow it back down here to the dropouts. That now this side of the dropout is stamped. This one is serial number 26. So I'm not sure who's getting serial number 26 tomorrow, but when Chad gets it all stickered up and on the way, they'll get serial number 26 on the way. Now, this side, we did go ahead and stamp in the Supercross logo. Now, instead of just doing a full laser cut chromoly dropout, we did also, I'm not sure how much you can see on the video, but we did do a backside CNC relievement just to give a little bit of a weight reduction. Not that anybody cares about weight reduction on a 26-inch frame, but just something we do. It's like, okay, well, it's a laser cut CNC,
it's cool.
chromoly dropout.
I've added a few pounds, Bill, so anything you can remove, I will absolutely take.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'll take it too.
We did a similar thing on the bottom bracket, to where you can see we've got the little extra reinforcement rings on the ends, where we took the bottom bracket and machined it down thinner in the center, just so that way, hey, we've got that little extra reinforcement ring, so that way no one's going to booger up the bottom bracket shell. And just we try and put little refinements into it of what I'd like to have on my frame. So if we put the little refinements in that I'd like to have on my frame, well, then hopefully everybody else will want it on theirs. And if not, well, then okay, I've got more for me.
Yeah, right. So those are available right now on the Supercross BMX website.
Yes. Hopefully there will be some left by the time this podcast airs.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are going quick, so I'm going to edit this as fast as possible so you can learn about it if you weren't aware that this was available. I gotta tell you, Bill, thank you so much for your time. I told you, hey man, we'll chat for like an hour. Here we are, we're about 2:15 in, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Dude, please come back and share more stories, because we haven't even scratched the surface of, you know more about BMX history. You've forgotten more about BMX history than I'll ever know. I'll say that. So please come back and chat some more with us, share all the tidbits and all the fun stories that you got. And thank you so much, man, for coming out and spending your time with us.
Well, thank you. I truly appreciate you guys having me on. And anytime you guys would like to have me on, it was definitely an honor. And I would love to share more stories. I would love to sit around and talk because, again, I didn't even look at the clock. I have no idea what time it was. I could have gone on for hours longer. I still have a little bit left in my Gatorade. So, we could have kept this going for a long time. And I, again, appreciate you guys having me on. And I appreciate the chat, because, again, BMX, it's your friends, your bikes, some dirt, and that's all it really is. And this is our friends on our bikes. We don't have the dirt in front of us, but that's been what I've been preaching for a long time. Your friends, your bikes, some dirt, and you're good to go. You don't need anything more than that.
I love that, Bill. And one of the takeaways I'm gonna take from this conversation with you is your continual strive for passion for something that was something that made you happy that you wanted to share with others. And I always tell folks who are in the business of making things fun for us with BMX, thank you. Because without you saying, I want to share this with you and not just keep it to myself, we wouldn't have what we have today. And you're one of those guys. You're one of those guys who said, I'm not going to be selfish with it. I'm going to share it with you because I'm having so much damn fun. Even though on the business side, yeah, there can be those headaches and those I quit moments and all that shit, but you just want it to be the way you want it to be to make you smile. Yeah. And what you're doing is making all of us smile too, right along with you, man. Thanks for bringing us along on your journey and sharing that with us tonight, because Isaac and I are super stoked, and I'm sure everyone who's listening is walking away with something to go, I'm having fun, and it reaffirms why we love this sport, why we have passion for it, man. So thank you for that. And thank you for what you do for BMX. And not only that, for the, just putting smiles on people's faces. Not a lot of folks walk around saying that they can do that in their job as well as in their life. So dude, thank you. And thank you for being here with us tonight.
No, thank you. Again, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. And what you guys are doing is an amazing job. And do we have time for one quick little story though, before we go?
100%.
Absolutely.
Craig, you've got that picture of Vander back up there on your wall. And Isaac had mentioned Vander earlier. Bill Batchelor, I got him to send me some precious photos of Vander. Vander's a brother that was gone way too quick. I got to meet Vander years ago. Obviously, he was a San Francisco kid and one of the original Curb Dogs, but I got to meet him and we became very close kindred spirits when we were doing some GPV and some downhill racing. And Vander used to ride his bike and hitchhike from San Francisco down to my place in Buena Park just so that we could go ride for the weekend. And that is the true epitome of a friend. And when I was at GT and he had gotten kicked off of dyno and he wasn't allowed to get parts any longer, I used to buy parts to send him. And also when I couldn't afford to buy the parts to send him, I would sneak parts out of warranty and send him up. And it wasn't parts that weren't supposed to be, liberated from warranty, because they were technically warranty parts, but they just made their way to Vander to keep him rolling. And I love him so much. And we used to talk about like when he got the job making the prosthetics. I don't know how much you guys know about his life outside of BMX, but after he was living in the warehouse and he was working at the prosthetic company and making those fake legs for people and the fake arms for people. And he would call me and we would talk at GT, and he would call collect to GT or call the 1-800 number. And I'd pick up the call every single time for him. And we would talk for hours, and he would be talking about how stoked he was to build the best leg for that lady today, to where he was making the absolute best leg, to where that lady didn't have a leg and he was going to build her the best leg ever. And he was just going to make the best leg. And he was so proud of the fact of how he was going to make the best leg. And it's weird. We're BMX guys and we're kids back then. We're 18-year-old kids. And we're talking about, how he's going to make this lady the best leg ever because she needs it, because she doesn't have a leg, man. And we're lucky and we've got legs and she doesn't have one. So I'm going to make her the best leg ever. And his heart and his passion, and oh my God, the world lost so much when he left. And it just,
what a soul, right? What a soul. Yeah, dude, I can tell you, like,
incredible.
grown up a NorCal kid. The first time I met Vander, I didn't have any money. I was in a McDonald's. We were at the park. I put all my money in my buddy Rick Delaney's gas tank to get there. Rode in the back of his pickup from Stockton to the park. I didn't have any money for food. I'm sitting there. He goes, "How come you ain't eating, dude?" And I was like, "I ain't got any money. I put gas money." He's like, "Oh, dude, okay." I was just like, "Whatever, dude. Vander just talked to me." That was my thing. Like, "Oh, dude, that was fucking Vander." And then he literally, like, he's got like 2 bites left of his sandwich, and he like takes his hat off, pulls some hair out of his head, throws in the sandwich, and dude, he flipped out. I was embarrassed by the scene that he made. I don't think a bigger Karen fit has ever been thrown inside of a McDonald's. Like, he was, dude, I put this on my kids. Like, I swear to God, he was clucking like a chicken and making noises. And the manager's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "There's hair in my food." And so they're like, "I got you." Like, they went, got some more food. He walks over, like, they hand him the food. He's like, "Here, kid," and dips out. Like, didn't he, like, that was it, dude. And I'm like,
yeah,
what a bro, you know what I mean? That was a bro ass move to like throw yourself out there. But dude, I will always pause the show for Vander stories 100% of the time, because, like, Craig lives in NorCal. I'm a NorCal kid. And, for me, like, Vander was BMX, dude. Like, it's the heart and soul of BMX. And everything that I remember from Dave was just like, it was pure, man. It was like, everybody was a bro. If you're on a bike, you're a bro. And I love that.
yeah. And Dave was also one of the first ones to break the barriers of skateboard and BMX and break the barriers.
Yeah.
He didn't care. You were out having fun. We're all together, bro. It don't matter.
It was all the same, dude, up there. Like, he was Drob, Drob's brother was a pro skater. So yeah, it was the whole thing. But
they had Tommy Guerrero on Kurt
Tommy
Dogs,
was there. Yeah. Everybody. Bill, I'm gonna let you go, but I thank you again so much for coming out. And
no, I thank you, and I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just I had to tell that, and I've got some other Vander stories that we can talk about off camera one other time.
Yeah,
but
love that.
Vander's awesome.
Come back and tell these stories, please, please, please. We will have you back on, you guys. We're gonna have Bill back on, and we'll talk all about it. So I hope, like, learning tonight, listening to this podcast, the things that I've learned is you can absolutely fund your life with your passion if you do it smart, right? You have a dream. Bill could have taken this knowledge of bubblegum flipping and taken it into anywhere and made a bazillion dollars in other industries, but he stuck with his heart, and that is what has gotten through. The rest of the other companies didn't necessarily weather storms the way that Supercross has. They're still here. Right? Tech technically is still here.
Yeah.
That the mentality and the philosophy behind that company is driving Supercross. The other thing I learned is, if you're passionate about something, go for it. You know what I mean? It's not all about you all the time. You want something rad. You're the heart and soul of a community or a need, like these Radical Rick bobbleheads. It sounds weird to say this, but there was a need for that. He's like, "I want one. I can get this done and make it for all my friends." So there's things that you can learn from listening to this and apply it to your daily life, whether you own a BMX company or you just want to hustle some bubble gum. Get inspired by this story, because it's bigger than BMX. It's bigger than this is a life lesson that happens to be wrapped in a dope BMX story. But follow your passion, follow your dreams, and you will be successful. And success isn't necessarily monetary. That's the other thing is it's not about who has the biggest trophy, right? It's about leading with your heart and doing what you want to do and make something better. That's what it's all about when it really comes down to driving forces. It's not the success isn't measured in bank accounts. It's two elephants battling, ants was the old way. Now it's, hey, let's all just kick back and have a good time. Everybody's an elephant, right? Anybody can be an elephant. That's the other thing I learned. An ant becomes an elephant. So don't count yourself out just because you're not the Supercross of the day. You are not the S&M Chris Muller of the day. You're not the Todd Lyons of the day. If you have a dream and you have passion, you can go a long way. That's what I learned tonight. So thank you, Bill. Craig, again, thank you for hanging out, buddy. I
Always,
know you
brother.
worked all damn day and then you came right in and jumped on this. So thank you for
Anytime.
that. Thanks for loving BMX the way you do. You guys, thanks for tuning in. I love the shit out of you. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you liked this, then now I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. I don't ask you to do it at the end or at the beginning of a show, but man, if you dug this, like and subscribe, and we'll give you some more of this type of interview and this type of podcast. So go ride your bikes, have a good ass time, have some fun, burn some steam, get some stress out, and talk to some kids about BMX. We need to make sure that kids are riding. So y'all have fun. We will see you back here on Big Bike BMX. Thanks, Craig. Beep, 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 beep.